Hi everyone. I'm actually here downstairs around my home area. I'm just trying to make a really quick video. So I wanted to actually talk a little bit more about this phenomenon concerning spiritual abuse and how it exactly works to actually hurt people. And I'm actually speaking from the perspective of someone who has been through it, and now that I know exactly what the term is, that is religious trauma syndrome, I can actually speak more in detail. Okay, and I only have about 9 minutes because of the shortage of the time, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about this because I just found, I've been aware that over the last few, months, over last year, that there was actually a very strong dislike or distrust of psychologists and psychiatrists all along in fundamentalist evangelical circles. This is really different from, let's say, the Roman Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church. And for some strange reason, that all of a sudden, for the last few decades, the fundamentalist or evangelical movement has gone on a really totally terrible kickback where they actually just stigmatize psychologists and psychiatrists as the devil's workers. And the strange thing is that when these preachers do that, they always instantly, they throw up certain kinds of certain stereotypes about what the psychological or psychiatric professions are all about. They claim that it's not really that scientific, that it's all just forgiving yourself and saying that it's not biblical, and it's all, we should be aware of our guilt and stuff. The whole thing is, when it's taken out of context and there's no understanding of science, it's really anti-science. And I found that actually, this particular ministry itself, which was pretty established by the late R.C. Sproul, who passed away in 2017, he actually still goes on in his really anti-science and pro-Calvinist, the idea that God has actually ordained everything, that including sickness, disease, everything. Is like the idea of God is a very aberrant idea. And then the fact that R.C. Sproul, he himself wrote a book that was entitled The Hate of God. Excuse me. You claim that in most circles we know that God hates sin, but He loves the sinner. But no, it's not that way to people like R.C. Sproul, the late R.C. Sproul, Calvinists and everything. To them, they will say no, God hates the sinner as well. Basically, the sin and the sinner are totally being combined. Okay, and what happens is that when it comes to psychological or psychiatric mental health care access, people like this actually they will actually try to hinder practicing Christian believers from having any access, because they claim that it's actually devilish, satanic, and not good for you, that it will cause you to stray from God, which is totally really wrong-headed. Okay, and there was one thing that when I was in the Calvinist Bible Presbyterian Church years ago, from 2000 to 2005, there was this story that was told to me by the senior pastor. Then he told different people during a service about how he had to officiate at the funeral, and the funeral was actually for a member. I think it was actually I'm not sure whether it's a man or woman who had actually taken his or her life. And the strange thing was that actually there's a very strong absence of empathy in any case among most of these Christians. They say that when you have done this thing, you have taken your own life, or done this thing, so you go directly to hell, and because of that you lose your salvation and blah blah blah. But he, in all respect for the pastor, he actually said something. He said he didn't want to be judgmental, so he said just because of one action that it was done in maybe because the person was depressed or whatever. We can't just say that it's one action that will cause you to totally lose that salvation that was originally in Jesus Christ. But I was registering. I remember that thing, but There's something that we didn't sit well very much with me now that I come to think about it. It's not so much that I have anything against that senior pastor, but it just kind of struck me. If that particular person or that believer who had taken his or her own life, basically to unalive himself or herself, was actually suffering from some mental health care issue, like some depression, stress issue, which was very serious. Why were they not aware of it? Or was it that they were actually aware of it, but they did not actually allow him or her to have any access to the mental health care worker, like to intervene? Yes. Why wasn't there any intervention to stop him or her, or to arrest that action of unaliving yourself before it even happened? Okay, it was like, it didn't sit well with me. I was thinking, oh wow, so now you're like just regretting it and saying that you were hoping that the person didn't do that to himself or herself. But you could jolly well have done it in terms of like a there could have been some form of intervention by getting the suicide prevention, if not the suicide prevention, or just like a counselor to check in on the person, to talk to the person, and or the psychiatrist or psychologist. But of course, because they are Calvinists and they are Bible Presbyterians, or fundamentalists who are even essentially against psychology, okay, because they think that it is actually of the devil, it has led to this major tragedy happening. So I know this by myself, because when I was like undergoing depression, everyone was telling me to stop seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist. It's like everyone just told me stop. Why? It's not Christian. Blah 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 blah. But no one told me why I can see why I need help. I needed help. Okay, and this was really very empathetic, and I kind of realized this, especially in those years when I was actually not attending church. Actually, there was when was that? That was in 2018, when I was actually in a very serious state of depression. Okay, I actually had to see a social worker, and the social worker had to call in on me, or at least get a friend to call in on me to make sure that I didn't do anything bad to myself, such as hurting myself. The thing is this, they couldn't care less, okay? They couldn't care less. So, I think it's very important. We have to just realize that, spiritual abuse and even spiritual narcissism actually happens when people deny you access to medical healthcare, or even including mental health care services. Okay, so that's what I have to say. And so I just said, I posted on my Facebook. I'm going to be rather shameless, although it might get me rather bad flack. I say I'm not actually very sorry, or I don't feel bad for his passing, for R.C. Sproul's passing, because his legacy of hatred is still around. But I kind of feel relief in a way, because at least now those people who took up his legacy of stigmatizing mental health care workers and even preaching hatred, they are not as powerfully hateful as him. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so have a good one, everyone. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.